Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to be relating time intervals to different times during the day. So I want you guys to think about when you are coming to school. Is that at morning or is that at night? If you said morning, you're correct. So the way that we would think about the morning is we would think about it in terms of AM. Now, what time do we get to school? 8 o'clock a.m. is what time we get to school. So we would write it like this. So everything that happens in the morning happens until 12 o'clock noon. That's when it switches over to afternoon. When we're thinking about that, we're thinking about PM. So we would write it PM. Now let's think about something that happens in the afternoon. What time do we go home? We go home at 4 o'clock p.m. And that's happening in the afternoon. So after you pass 12, you are now in the afternoon. When we think about counting on our clock, we think about counting in intervals. We could count in intervals of 5 minutes. So I want us to review skip counting by fives up to 60. Why 60? Well, 60 is the next hour. So let's review. 5, 10, and I hope you're saying this along with me. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And when we've hit 60, we've hit the next hour. I'm going to remind you of what this would look like if I was counting on the clock. So here I have 8 o'clock. That's 8 o'clock a.m., the time that we get to school. If I wanted to count up to the next hour, I could count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Now, when I've gotten to the next hour, look at what happened to my hour hand, the little hand. It is now after 9 o'clock. So once I get to my minute hand to the 12 and my hour hand between the 9 and the 10, that means I have hit 9 o'clock a.m. Okay, boys and girls, so here's our first problem. A test started at 10:40 a.m. It ended at 11:10 a.m. How long did it last? So I've already written in our boxes for us for our time intervals. I have my start time labeled at 10:40 a.m. and you can see that I have my end time at 11:10 a.m. Take notice that both of these say a.m., which means they're both happening in the morning. Okay, so let's look at our start time, 10:40 a.m. Let me think about an interval of time that's easy for me to count by. I could count by my fives. Is there any other interval that might be easy for me to count by looking at this as a multiple of 10? I'll give you some time to think about it. If any of you said 10 minutes, you're correct. So let's count by our 10 minutes. Remember, when we count by tens, it should sound like this. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Who remembers what happens at 60? If you said you get to the next hour, you're correct. So I'm at 10:40 a.m. If I add 10 minutes, what time will I be at now? The next time is 10:50. Now, am I writing a.m. or p.m.? If you said a.m., you're correct. It's still morning. Now, I'm going to add another 10 minutes because I have not gotten to the next hour. What happens when I add 10 minutes? Do I make it 10:60 or does it become a different hour? If you said it becomes 11 o'clock, you are correct. It's 11 o'clock a.m. Have I hit my 11:10, my end time yet? No, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to add another 10 minutes. And then what time will I reach? 11 o'clock plus 10 more minutes is 11:10 a.m. Now that's my end time, so I'm going to stop here. Now, if you remember from the previous lesson, we need to count up all the intervals that have gone by. So I can count by my tens because all of this is 10 minutes. 10, 20, 30. On the side, I'm gonna label this 30 minutes. That means if I'm answering my question, how long did the test last? The test lasted 30 minutes. Great job on that last problem, boys and girls. So here's our next one. A television program started at 7:35 p.m. and lasted 1 hour. What time did the program end? So I'm going to show you two ways to think about this. I want to put my clock at 7:35 p.m. So I know that 7:35 is not 8 o'clock yet, but it's past 7. So I want to put my hour hand in between the 7 and the 8. Then I look for where 35 is. So if I was even counting by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. This is where 7:35 would be on your clocks. So now if I'm counting 1 hour, that means that my minute hand needs to make a full rotation around the clock. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, because remember 60 minutes is 1 hour. Now look at where my hour hand is. My hour hand is now between 8 and 9. That means that the hour is 8 o'clock. Look at your minute hand. Your minute hand is on the 7. The 7 is 35 minutes. So that means that the next hour would be 8:35. So if I'm looking at this now with the in and out boxes, I have my start time at 7:35. I know that my end time is going to be 1 hour later. So that's already telling me what I'm counting by. So if I'm starting at 7:35, I know that the only thing that's changing is my hour. What is the next hour after 7 o'clock? If you said 8 o'clock, you're correct. So here where I put my hour is going to be 8. Now remember what I said about the minutes. The minutes are not going to change. Just going to change that up here. So here, my next time, my hour is 8. My minutes are not going to change. So if they were 35 here and an hour's gone by, it's still 35 here. So now my new time is 8:35 p.m. That's an hour going by, so that is my end time, 8:35 p.m. So if I was to answer the question, what time did the program end? The program ended at 8:35 p.m., just in time for you guys to go to bed. Okay, so here's our next problem. John took 30 minutes to do his homework. Good job, John. I'm glad you're doing your homework. He started at 8:15 p.m. What time did he finish doing his homework? So I know that it took him 30 minutes from my start time. Well, 30 minutes, that can be broken apart into tens because that's a multiple of 10. How many times would you need to count by tens to get to 30? Let's do some of that work over here. Count by tens with me. 10, 20, 30. So I had to count by tens 1, 2, 3 times. So that means that over here in my intervals, I'm going to count by 10 minutes 3 times. So if I add 10 minutes to 8:15 p.m., what time would I get? 10 minutes past 8:15 p.m. is 8:25 p.m. Now, have I counted up 30 minutes? No, so I need to keep going another 2 times. 8:25 p.m. plus 10 minutes would give me what time? 8:25 plus 10 minutes would be 8:35 p.m. Now I need to look again at how many times I've counted by 10 because I know I need to do it 3 times. 1, 2. So I need to do it 1 more time. So 8:35 p.m. plus 10 minutes. What time would I arrive at? 8:45 p.m. is the correct answer. So that means that my end time is now 8:45 p.m. So if I wanted to answer this question, what time did he finish doing his homework? John finished doing his homework at 8:45 p.m. Great job, boys and girls. So now it's time for you to start your classwork. It's going to be exercise 4. So you have A through E on the front. Then number 2, where you're counting by hours. So number 2A through E on the back. And then you're finished. Great job.